Today, well, we've all heard the news. Coronavirus is the topic, as I'm sure you would expect. Lots of people talking about lots of different things, but essentially, the key challenge really is how are people going to be coping in what can only properly be described as self imposed quarantine? Now, is it self imposed quarantine? Is it not? What are you calling it? Are you calling it isolation? Would you have preferred the government to have referred to it in a slightly different way? Would you have preferred? In any event, the government advice, as you already know, is essentially do not go outdoors unless it is absolutely necessary. And absolutely necessary is for those who are key workers, frontline key workers in particular. That is people of the medical profession who do need to ensure that yours and my family's health are protected. So help yourselves by staying indoors. In the meantime, what are you doing to keep yourself occupied? Are you able to work from home? Are you not able to work from home? Are you taking this as an opportunity to catch up on your TV box sets? Are you taking this as an opportunity to just reflect on your own self, reflect on the world? And or are you lounging about in your pajamas? What are you doing? Right. So today, we are fortunate that I have with me, well, not quite with me, but remotely, I have Rebecca Lilley. Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Hello, Tahir. Thanks very much for having me on the show today. Appreciated.
My absolute pleasure. Uh, Dear listeners, Rebecca is someone who also holds a law degree. So this will be a very interesting conversation today. Rebecca, tell us a little bit about your background. And you've got a law degree. How did it come about that you decided to study law? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, thanks very much, Tahir. So, going back to, oh, it seems a lifetime ago, but it's not. Going back to my A-level years, I studied government and politics, philosophy and religion, and theatre studies. And I felt that that was a really good mixing pot to get a flavour of justice and what I really believed in, actually, and what is worth standing up for in the world. And so that led me to go to the University of Leicester to study a law degree. I got heavily involved in the pro bono clinic there, looking at debt matters for students, playing on the law netball team. But I'm not going to pretend it was an easy ride. That also fueled a peer pressure cooking, as they call it was like a cooking pot of grades and very, very heavy, a lot of pressure for grades to achieve, employability after that. But I didn't regret it. It's a great degree to have, and I recommend people studying law, or whether it be the conversion course. So from then on, I didn't have a gap year. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say law is a challenging subject as it is. So it was always going to be a tough ride. But what's interesting in what you've given me as background is something so diverse. You've mentioned theatre studies.
Yes, so theatre studies, I've always had a love of the theatre, and this is what stemmed, as we will come on to, my company that I've set up, but the ability to of escapism, to put your own problems aside, become somebody else, and do that process through costume dress. And that's what fueled the love of theatre, whether it's writing your own play by expressing yourself, whether that's theatre therapy, which can be used for people to express emotions or to deal with underlying issues. I've always had a love of theatre, and I don't think that theatre and law are actually too far different, actually, because you have the relation between different sectors of people, different backgrounds, and you have to be able to relate to them in some way to close the case and translate the legal jargon into the, if you want for a better word, layman's language that they may understand. Yes.
Okay, so you've gone onto the legal field, and presumably now you're working in the legal sector as well, are you?
So I actually work in-house as an analyst role within the legal and compliance function, yes.
Okay. And you've told us a little bit about the theatre studies side of things, and your
Mhm.
company you've mentioned, Passage to Poise.
Yes.
Uh, Today I want to talk about coping strategies and so on and so forth, because
Hmm.
a lot of people are anxious. And I know that that is something that you are obviously keen to talk about
Hmm.
and
Yes.
and address, as it were, specifically when it comes to coping strategies and so on and so forth. What
Yes.
sort of thing are you at the moment, you yourself doing? I mean, are you working from home at the moment?
Thank you, Tahir. Yes, well, I have a little bit of background and then I'll get on to how I'm coping day to day. So, for somebody who's struggled for years with anxiety, a bit of restlessness, and needing a routine and structure in place, I actually went on a retreat where I learnt about breathing mechanisms, coping mechanisms, understanding the way I think, and being a high achiever, which many lawyers are. So I had
Mhm.
this retreat, and I came out of it, and I felt absolutely wonderful for the first time out of a rat race career. I felt fantastic. And then the news broke out of this horrific virus, and I saw the world, and rightly so, is living. Everybody's anxious, and I thought, oh my goodness, is this for real? Like, I am so not
Mm.
anxious at the moment. But then
Well,
what I thought was, yeah.
I was just going to ask, I mean, how is it that you as a woman who, you sound like a confident young woman who is obviously intelligent and so on, and how is it that someone like you can feel anxious and feels the need to go to a retreat? Obviously,
Well,
circumstances are now
yeah, thank
different, but
you. Yes, thank you
what?
very. I'm glad I got in there quick. Yeah, there'll probably be cues when we're allowed to go out again. But yeah, no, I think that this is what people need to understand. Actually, being open and brave enough to talk about your vulnerabilities is a confident thing. Anxiety and confidence are two very separate things. A lot of high achievers, it's a vicious circle. So for me, I was getting into a perfectionist state where unless I was getting the best grade, getting the next promotion, winning the next award, I didn't feel good enough, and therefore it affected my confidence. So the
Mm,
anxiety cycle was, where am I going to get my next non-anxious fix of the next award? And for
goodness.
some lawyers, that could be, when am I going to get my next case? If you're a
Mm,
self-employed barrister, it might be, when am I going to get the food on the table for this,
yes.
winning this next case? So actually, anxiety can be great for competitive nature, and for striving people to do well. It can be great. But the flip side of that, when I'm stressing when people are at home, is to get some sort of normality and routine for high achievers where you channel that anxiety in a coping mechanism. I'm not saying everyone has to get up as if they're commuting, right?
Hmm.
But I personally am getting up at the same time every day, going for a
Hmm.
walk, having my breakfast, getting dressed. And I, when I say going for a walk, I just mean in my garden, or I've got a little trampoline in the garden. And for me, that is my coping mechanism, because if I read too much of the news, or if I get too absorbed into the state of everybody else's and rightly justified sense of
Hmm.
panic, I'm only going to suffer.
Yes, that was going to be my next question. I mean, obviously you're going for a walk, but you've told us yourself that you're restricting that as
Mm,
much as possible to your own garden and what have you, because
mm.
many people in and around the East London area, specifically our listeners around the East London area, are unlikely to have such a luxury.
And
Uh,
I totally respect that. And I really respect the companies out there, which I'll give you a copy of to hear after this talk, that are doing online yoga, online meditation for free. There's also, I think it's also responsible that we follow all government advice. And whilst doing that, we understand how else to take the burden off the NHS. For me, I don't want to
yes.
burden the NHS with my anxiety. I'm sorry, they don't need another person saying, do I have symptoms? I'm not sure. when I just feel a bit anxious because I've read too many stories. The best thing I can do for the NHS is, yes, stay home, stay safe, and stay well, stay mentally well.
And it's not
Um,
just the
and
NHS, is it, for whom you can do this to stay home and so on and so
mm,
forth? Actually, it's to protect your own self, is it not,
yes,
as well
yeah,
as your family members or
yes,
those with
yes, yes.
as I understand the position to be, you may not discover that you have symptoms, or rather, you may be asymptomatic. You might not have symptoms for at least 14 days,
This is true.
or anywhere between 7 and 14 days, you might not have symptoms, and
And I think it's
therefore,
all, yeah.
during that period, you might end up inadvertently, accidentally, passing the virus on to other people who then pass it on to other people. And that's obviously part and parcel of the reason as to why the government has said, look, stay indoors or
Hmm.
else.
And
Uh,
I'm all for the government advice. And I think that it's also important that people take this time to occupy themselves. I have an emotional journal where I write, what did I worry about today? Well, obviously, three guesses what that is. But the point is,
mm,
I am writing down and expressing myself. And then I'm saying, do you know what? One more day, I got through it. This is how I overcame it. And then another tip, I'm doing some arts and crafts. I've always liked artistic activity. As I've said, it's a form of therapy. I never thought I could sew. I mean, I could draw well, but I never thought I'd be sewing. Now I'm teaching myself to sew. I'm doing a bit of jewelry making in my downtime. And I just have to say, all credit to Law Care, the legal community that values mental health and well-being. I
mhm.
don't know if your listeners know, but that's for the legal profession, and they are working all hours amidst this crisis for lawyers, and that's found at lawcare.org.uk, and they have a strategy, resources, web chat, peer support, education for lawyers in this crisis.
Mhm. Right. Now, many of our listeners are not going to be lawyers,
Okay.
or are unlikely to be lawyers,
Mhm.
and some of us obviously are. So, what are you doing that, for example, you've said that you're getting up at your usual time. But tell us a little bit more about how you're coping.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share that. So, I had a choice, in my opinion, when I came back from this retreat. I had a choice whether to delve back into the years of anxiety, living on the edge, panic state that I was feeding my success off. I had a choice.
You
And
had
I
a
just like,
choice.
yeah, I know
So
when I
you're
when
saying,
when I came back from the retreat, when I had
Mhm,
been given the tools and been taught about the breathing, I had this break out of my rat race life. And
mhm,
what I did was I mean, obviously I am as in shock as everybody else, and I am wishing people well across the world, and all credit to my mum in the NHS and all the NHS staff out there. But the
mhm,
fact is, I knew that was I didn't think that my levels of coping would survive if I went back to how I was before the retreat.
mhm,
Some of the mechanisms I have got in place since that retreat are I've got a diffuser, for example. I've got a diffuser by my bed with aromatherapy oils that you might get when you go to the beauticians for a massage. So I've got them to go to sleep. I don't want to have lots of um, I don't prescribe medications or anything like that. This is just, you can get it in Holland and Barrett. It's lavender oil or geranium oil for, get it anywhere, but it's something that for me works for me to sleep. I also have when I finish working, I try and have about half an hour without any technology. Okay, so
mhm.
even with that's a screen, so even watching TV until I go to bed or having my laptop until I go to bed, that doesn't work for me. And it doesn't work scientifically as well because your brain is still alert, looking for the next notification, looking for the next email. So I like to actually have a good routine where I'm making my bed. I may be having a magazine, which is nothing. I mean, just because even if you're educated or whatever, you can still read nothing every now and then. Something that doesn't mean much, or maybe it's not too much brain hassle. It's not a Sudoku. It's just something that is light-hearted, and I might have that. Sit there, make the routine before I go to sleep, one that
Mm-hmm.
is calm. Sometimes, I mean, this is also personal preference, but when I wake up, I do energy cleanse meditation. That works for me because I am an empathetic person. A lot of people have seen that I have kind of fought off anxiety, touch wood, and so they flock to me and say, how did you do that? So what I
Mm-hmm.
think is important is I don't want to fall back. I don't want to fall backwards and suffer by helping people. So what I need to do is
Sorry, we
have an
just missed you
energy
there. Sorry, we
cleanse.
just lost you there for a moment.
Sorry, shall I
Sorry, we
repeat
just
that
lost you
bit?
there. Yes, please. Just.
So sorry, what I was saying is when you have sort of fought off your demons, for want of a better word,
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to protect your own energy space. And this
Yes.
is what the retreat taught me. So there's no good me helping everybody else with coping mechanisms and then feeling burnt out energetic wise from being the source of strength for other people. So one of the routines, the morning routine is energy cleanse
Mm-hmm.
meditation. So it's not affiliated with a particular religion or spiritual
Religion or faith
sector.
or whatever.
No, it's literally just music that or an affirmation that says, I release any energy that is not mine. I have done my bit. It's of the philosophy that you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. You let that go. You let them go with love and light. If you hope that they help themselves now, but
Hmm.
you've done your bit. And then at the end of the evening, if you are like me and you have fought off these troubles and you don't want to fall backwards, energy protection is really good. So you just say, I've got this. Affirmations. You're doing good. Just a reminder, you're not perfect. You're doing the
Okay.
best you can.
Let me stop you there for a moment. We are going to have to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back with you after these few important messages. Welcome back to your listeners. You are listening to me, commercial barrister Tahir Ashraf. My guest today is Rebecca Lilley, with whom I have been having conversations, and obviously we will be continuing to have this conversation via this journey. Let's see how the next short while goes. So, in the meantime, stay safe, stay indoors. Let's have a continued conversation with Rebecca. Rebecca, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, Rebecca, before the break, you were telling us about how it is that you cope. For example, you talked about energy in the morning, you've talked about energy in the evening, and so on. Can I ask you to pick up again for energy in the evening?
Yes,
What
I
it is
think
that
it's
you,
really
yeah.
important to reiterate the practical routines of having a break from your screen, and the actual switch off of mobile phones, doing your bed, maybe having a bath, reading a magazine that has light-hearted, maybe even well-being tips. And
Hmm.
then what I would say is what I personally do is I give myself a compliment. I can just YouTube affirmations, positive affirmations, and they say things like, you did the best you could today, well done. You and gratitude as well for the day. I'm thankful for this day that I could share my journey with others and make the world a better place. I thank myself that I got up and I had my routine from 7 o'clock, because that set the path for the whole day working from home, where instead of moping around, draining resources, for other well-being services, I've actually helped other people take care of their own mental health at this stage. So not that I
Mm.
am an absolute alternative for any mental health or well-being for that matter, but what I'm
Hmm.
saying is, from my own experiences, I have taken on board the free resources that I've been given, the coping strategies, and I'm with myself. Of course, I get days, especially amidst this pandemic, where I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how did this happen? I'm sorry for these people. But me going, when the ship is sinking, you get up, you get off the ship. And when I feel myself sinking into the negative state, I literally say, it's not fair. It's not fair on others. You've got to
Sorry,
get
we
yourself
missed
up.
you. We missed what you said. It cut out a little. When
Sorry.
you fall into negative. Is
If you
what
fall
were you
into
saying?
a negative, which many people might do
Hmm.
in this time, if when the ship is
Yes.
sinking, you don't go with it. You get up and for me, if I feel like I'm slipping back into old patterns, I say to
Hmm.
myself, this isn't fair on the people with the virus or who are suffering. I deserve
Hmm.
to be strong for myself, for the NHS, for people suffering, and so I get back to that routine. I mean, I have days with the anxiety will come creeping in, but
Hmm.
I'm saying no. It's not just for myself; it's for other people.
Hmm. So what you're saying is the use of positive affirmations, like I deserve this for myself,
Mm.
that has helped you, has it?
Yes, because look, I think that the thing is with anxiety, right, is it has a ripple effect. So
Hmm.
before you know it, you don't want to call your friend because you what are they going to say? Are they going to make it worse? Are they going to talk about the news? And when you're in, whether it's working from home, quarantine, self-isolation, if your anxiety creeps in too far, before you know it, you're sitting there and you're having no contact with anybody. So it's really
Mm.
important to really reel that routine in. I mean, everyone would like to sit in their pajamas all day and watch rubbish films. Who wouldn't?
Hmm.
I mean, I would like to do that
Well,
some days.
I suppose I'd like to watch good films as opposed to rubbish
Yeah,
films.
exactly. But soppy films, whatever. And wouldn't that be
Sure,
great?
sure. Hmm.
But I just think if you get the routine in now, whilst we're
Hmm.
in this, we don't know how long this is going to last for,
Hmm.
and have a bit of discipline with yourself, then you won't let standards slip, and therefore, the mental well-being hopefully won't slip, and you
Well,
start to, get to.
timescale wise, we're anticipating, many of us are anticipating around a 12-week sort of time frame, because even the Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that we'll review the set of circumstances um, on a month by month basis, but by the time 12 weeks comes, we should hopefully be at the other side, at the other
Mm.
end of this.
Well, wouldn't
So
it be great if after the 12-week period that people, because they've invested in their mental well-being now, they're fit and ready to go to work and they don't feel demoralized, and the economy will then get better because you'll have your workers saying, "Yes, get me back to work. Where can I start? Where can I
yes,
get back to the office?" That's what
yes,
I'm saying. These steps are
yeah,
important now, so you don't get into the habit of laying in till
absolutely.
12.
Indeed, indeed, absolutely. And that's absolutely, to my mind, it's very sound. Well, let's call it advice, shall we? It's some
It's
very
my
serious,
own
it's good words
personal
of wisdom, isn't
inspirational
it?
advice. Yeah, thank you.
It's very good words of wisdom, because ultimately, if we continue to feel sorry for ourselves and continue in that state of anxiousness, we're not going to be able to function or get anything done. And if
Hmm.
we are not able to function as human beings, well, those of us who are fortunate enough to be able to work from home, we won't be able to work from home. Which means that we might be putting ourselves at risk. We might be putting others, those with whom we come into contact, at risk, and so on. So
Hmm.
essentially, what you're saying is stay positive through taking action and control for yourselves.
Yes, I am. And there's multiple resources which I'll also send to you, which are free. One of the NHS initiatives that they did a couple of years ago was in a scenario where people with who were struggling with underlying mental health conditions, some less severe than others. They actually did a book from arts, crafts, poetry, paintings, art, where they were confined.
Hmm.
And this actual, I mean, you can look
Wow.
on the NHS website for that. But imagine after this 12-week period, and you can look back and say, do you know what? I fought for my own mental well-being. I produced.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I could paint. I didn't even know I could do jewelry. And look what I achieved. And you know what? I might actually go to when we're allowed to go out again. I might sign up to a pottery class. I never thought I'd see the day. Wouldn't that be a
You
good
might
thing?
might sign up to, what did you say?
A
Sorry, might
pottery.
sign
You
up
might
to?
sign up to a pottery class. You never thought you'd see the
Hmm.
day. But that's all because
Yes.
you allowed yourself to be in a state of being, of creativity, and you put that in place so you could, the structures in place so that you could allow yourself some downtime, not all downtime. It's got to
Yes.
be some structure there.
Of course. I think
Yeah.
those are very valuable, or rather invaluable, practical suggestions. Those are extremely helpful and invaluable practical suggestions as to how you might be able to cope, how you might be able to help your own self and deal with
Yes,
matters
thank you.
yourself. And ultimately, that's what it is about. It's about getting through this period instead of getting stuck within this period within oneself, isn't it?
Exactly. And these and every day sometimes it's a struggle for me, but I'm doing it and I'm feeling better every night. I'm feeling proud of myself.
hmm Excellent. Now, tell us about some of the practical steps then that you are taking first thing in the morning. So you're waking up first thing in the morning, you're doing something. What are you doing? What are you doing, and what
So
are you advocating?
for me personally, I'm the most creative and productive in the morning, and you know,
hmm
it's hard when you're living with family. Oh, she's up, you know, why is she up? But it's they understand that, you know, for me, that's when I get the most work done. I am a morning person, so to utilize that and understand that about myself, that is why I wake up at the same time every day. As I've
hmm
said, just go out in the garden, have a cup of tea, or just even and meditate. Before I look on social media, before I look at technology, I will
Mm,
take that time for myself. That's my time, and
very interesting.
it's not influenced by external sources. Look, the
hmm
news, it's very important, it's informative. But at the end of the day, this is my start of the day, and if I don't get my head right, I can't look at the news because it will overwhelm me. So
Right.
that 10 to 15 minutes is even if however long it takes for different people, obviously it'll vary, but in
Mm,
terms of the creative side, once I've done those things, I am writing a lot for my company Passage to Poise, the blogs, and if
hmm
you wouldn't mind, I've got an unpublished little extract here. Would you mind if I just
Not at
tell
all.
you what? So this is called Destination Poised, Faked It Till You Made It.
hmm
So this is basically my journey of throwing myself into fashion and finance, thinking that I would be happy and confident and beat my anxiety.
hmm
And from that process, I bought lots of clothes. There's nothing wrong with that. I've still got beautiful clothes. But it also meant that I was always still searching on that perfectionist bandwagon, always trying to
hmm
be the next best thing. Nothing was good enough.
hmm
So I wrote about that. So this blog is called Faked It Till You Make It. So you thought you could do that. So you thought that your style would keep evolving. And then the next blog after that is Destination Poised, why confidence doesn't work. So fake it till you make it, why confidence doesn't work like that and why.
hmm So,
So
do you want to read something out to us? We've got
yes,
about
okay.
we've got about 4.5, 5 minutes before we go to the next commercial break. So,
Okay,
sure.
so the first blog was this will be all about my journey in fashion. I've run London Fashion Week shows. I've worked with multiple high-end designers. All credit to the fashion industry and how they have helped me become an authentic person in that journey.
hmm
And the blog here, To Destination Poise, the journey to confidence and beyond. To what extent do you think that you can portray an image that exudes confidence? What a dream it would be to be truly confident. Fashion has played its part in portraying an illusion, an idealistic, desirable, out of reach fashion person, something to aspire to, a glossy magazine that I could never get. I'm all for aspiration, but I'm also all for there is a certain extent where you can only imitate someone else until it all comes back around.
hmm
And you have to look in the mirror. And I think that this is a powerful blog because we are all having to look at ourselves, whether we like it or not. You know, an Instagram filter, great as they are, there's still you at the
Mm.
behind the Instagram filter at the end of the day. So look after yourself. Thank you.
Now, I have another question, which
Yeah,
was something to do with our conversation before we started the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, you've told us that, you now follow your morning routine,
Mm-hmm.
and your standard morning routine essentially would have consisted of getting up, doing your meditation and what have you, and then
Yes.
getting out and going to work. Most people now don't have to get dressed, or, like me, you might not have to shave or this or that or the other. Um, you're presumably, what are you doing? Presumably you are getting dressed and what have you,
I
and
am.
focusing and managing your time in that way.
Yes, I am. So as I said, I'll get up, I'll do some creative journalism and work on my business, Passage to Poise, particularly producing a lot of blog content at this time. We've also moved our services such as online styling sessions, online wellbeing tips, coping mechanisms, and photo editing to keep photographers afloat. I'll do that in the morning before I do my day job, working from home. So yes, because I take that routine in the morning, I then feel ready to take on the my side venture, my online company, which I'm the director of, and do my day job with the in-house operations. So that's all because if I didn't manage my time effectively, again, the anxiety would creep up. It would all be too much. But I'm channeling that insecurity now of, yes, I've got to keep this job. I'm lucky to have a job in this climate. With it's not worth my health. It's also not worth my health. So they both have to work together.
Yes. And your message essentially is, if I'm not mistaken and if I have understood this properly, get up, push yourself to get up.
Yeah.
Push yourself to get up and start your usual routine, even though you don't necessarily have to go out on a commute. Perhaps that commute might have been an hour. It may have been half an hour. It may have been 10 or 15 or 20 minutes or however long. That then gives you some extra time, and therefore you should use that bit of extra time a little more wisely for self-reflection.
Yes, absolutely.
And one of your other key takes, as I understand it, is stay away from the social media and the WhatsApp messages, because as I'm sure you're aware, everyone is inundated with all sorts of and often, unfortunately, fake news
I
on
would like to
WhatsApp and so
correct
on.
you on that. I appreciate what you're saying, and I'm glad you've taken my points, but I'm not saying stay completely away. I think that as at any time, I mean, I have to manage my time. I'm managing a business and I'm working full time. So the thing is that I haven't got the time to be looking at fake news on people's or memes of the quarantine and chill. Look, it's all very well for you sharing memes sitting on your sofa, but I've got to manage a business here. So I will go on there when I'm good and ready. Don't be sending me messenger memes. I want my meditation first, and I don't have to respond instantly to anybody. That's my motto. Because we live in an age of instant gratification, instant people want things instantly from you, whether it's work or social. Look, let them get impatient with me. You're not interrupting my meditation, because then you'll interrupt my business and then you'll interrupt my income. So no, it starts with the boundaries.
Okay, boundaries is very important. We are now going to have to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with you after these few important messages. Welcome back, dear listeners. You are listening to me, Commercial Barrister Tahir Ashraf. You've heard the conversation, you've heard the news. Everyone is struggling. Lots of people are panicking. Lots and lots of people are anxious. Today, I have with me virtually, I have Rebecca Lilley, who is a law graduate, who is someone who has experienced anxiety firsthand, went into a retreat and came back only to discover that the world has gone into COVID-19 coronavirus panic mode and so on and so forth. And you've heard Rebecca during the first couple of sessions before the break telling us how Rebecca, you're keeping it real. You're saying do your meditation and so on before in the morning, before you get on to the social media and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And you're also saying to people, instead of not getting dressed and ready, do get dressed and ready, because that puts you into the right frame of mind mentally. Would you agree with that? Would you agree that that's a
Absolutely.
fair take?
Absolutely.
What are you doing yourself? I mean, are you just doing something ordinary, or are you treating yourself, as it were? I'm going to get dressed exactly as though I'm going to the office, or can I wear, what's the word, home clothes, as it
Well, I
were?
am a
I mean,
personal stylist as well, as you'll see on my company at Passage to Poise. So I can't let the side down, even if it's just with my family in the bunker, as it were. I mean, you can't let the side down. I'm stylish. I was born stylish, you know. No, it's a different outfit every day. I mean, I had a shopping addiction nearly, so I mean, I might as well make the most of it, even if it's for my eyes only here. So yeah.
okay, and so presumably, what other tips are you giving to people insofar as uh, tackling this whole anxiety issue is concerned?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I
So
can
I
tell
would.
I
Yeah.
can tell you what I've done. I'm drinking a lot of water, I think.
Well, I'm glad it's water. Yeah.
You.
So, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
there was a bit of a
Yeah.
crackle.
So, at the end of the day, look, we are not saints here. Look, I agree with people having downtime. There's going to be times where you feel restless. You don't want to do the meditation. Why would you? I mean, the news is telling you, and rightly so, that it's a bit of a doomsday feel to it. But what I'm saying is, if in this scenario you only thank yourself later to get through this, you've got to take ownership of your physical health, which we're doing by following government and NHS advice, but you've got to take ownership of your mental health as well. And I am no um, I'm not trying to replace the advice by medical health professionals. If you have any problems, go to the NHS on that score. But for me, on my daily routine and how I manage my well-being and follow the coping mechanisms that I've been taught by practitioners,
Hmm.
it really does work for me. And I want to get through this. I want to go on and help people. I want my business to succeed. So it starts now.
Hmm.
Thank
Excellent.
you. Thank you very much.
Okay, tell us about this whole catwalk business that you were telling us about
Oh,
earlier.
don't
So the
say
cat.
it's so flippant to hear. Catwalk business. It's an industry, don't you know? Um, okay,
Catwalk
so
fashion industry. What are you talking
yeah.
about?
Oh,
Educate me.
okay, here's the lawyer coming out. No. So my business was called Passage to Poise because, as I've mentioned, it was searching for the poise. What I envisaged was the poise lifestyle, was luxury, the finest clothes, everything paid for, just the epitome of luxurious living was what I envisaged the word poise to be. And the company is called Passage to Poise because it's all the jobs I've done for multiple fashion houses. I've personal style clients. But I still felt that something was, I didn't reach destination poise.
Hmm.
And it's only when I went on that retreat and I came out and I said, I've reached destination poise by looking in the mirror and saying, you don't have to be anyone else but yourself.
Hmm.
And so the psychology of style, which has been coined by many psychologists as well as personal shoppers, is really interesting because the psychology of style, which is often reciprocated into costume dress and actually the Stanislavski's method acting of what it means when you put on an outfit,
Hmm.
what actually happens to you psychologically when you wear clothes that fit you, that complement your skin tone, that complement your hair color, that complement your eye color. There's a whole science to image consultancy.
Wow.
And yes, my business is founded upon research and studies that look into the psychology of style. And for me, having a statement style, whilst everything else, my anxiety has been up in the air, my confidence has been up in the air, I know how to dress and
Hmm.
I reflect my personality in that, as well as knowing what suits me. And that has kept me grounded and has enabled me to go to
Sorry,
meetings.
sorry, sorry. Would
I
you
know
say
how
that
to
last bit
dress.
again?
I know
Hmm.
how to dress for my skin tone, for my shape, for my age bracket, to reflect my personality as well. And so understanding that and having a sense of proud individuality in the way I come across has enabled me, when my anxiety has been rife, to go into a meeting and say, look, on the inside, I'm really nervous. I don't feel like this. I don't want to do this. And this is not a sales pitch, it's firsthand, but because I've dressed the part, because I've got the outfit, I've ironed it, I've looked into the best outfit that will suit me. I have felt halfway there. And it's not a cure for anxiety, but it was a temporary measure that has led me to this point in my career to actually fake it till I make it with the right clothes.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's phenomenal. So dressing in the morning and getting ready and keeping the routine, or keeping some sense of the routine in this day and age and in this time, you say has not only helped you, but you say will also help many of our listeners, if not all of our listeners.
Do you know what? The reason why I called my company The Passage to Poise is because it's for the soul searchers. It's for those who haven't reached destination Poise. It's for those who are fighting against themselves, their own battles. They can't get up in the morning. They don't know, can't be bothered to get dressed. I mean, and that's why it's important for me to say, hey, listen, if I can do it, you can do it. You can fight your battles.
And you think that is as a direct consequence of people not wanting to do so, and so on and so forth, as a consequence of anxiety and so on?
I'm just saying that, look, prevention is better than cure, as they say. And
100%.
It can be a slippery slope if you're laying into 11 in your pajamas and you think you let it go for... Look, I would love to be doing that, but because I know myself and I take the time to protect my energy and understand my weaknesses or my vulnerabilities, I'm not going to do that, because I'll be struggling. So surely it's better when you really don't feel like it to say, hey, look, I'm doing this for the NHS. I'm doing it for myself. I'm looking after my well-being because I'm worth it.
I love it. Love it. You're using an infamous line there at the end.
Yes. Yes. And my company line, preparing the city men and women for the catwalk of life, still stands.
I love it. I love it. Well, perhaps we ought to change that in this day and age, preparing men and women of the world now.
Yes. Well, anyone. I'm open to online sessions from around the world.
And actually, people of the world now, not just men and women, preparing people, because ultimately this set of circumstances, we're all in it now together, and we all need to think about one another. And ultimately, the way I see it, we are being asked to stay at home, stay indoors, work from home, and so on and so forth, wherever possible, so that we protect not just ourselves, our families, our neighbors, our communities, but our country.
And yes, and I am all for the government's advice, and I'm following it myself. And I'm sure that they would be pleased that I am taking my mental well-being seriously as well, and utilizing what works for me.
Okay, let's move on to something slightly different then. And let's change the topic a little. You've done theatre studies and so on, and are you working on anything at the moment, or were you working on anything at the moment in terms of plays or anything along those lines in the artistic sector to deal with the anxiety issues? I mean, there's an idea in of itself.
Thank you. Yes, well, as I said, in the mornings, I'm the most productive, and I take that time. I'm writing about demons, as it were. So many people say, oh, I've got demons with alcoholism, anxiety, lots of different things. And I'm writing a piece at the moment, which is currently unpublished, about like the metaphorical way that they can get a hold of you without you even realizing they are, because you're so in the grain of everyday life, and they've become a part of you. So it's actually an interesting piece, which is looking at, to what extent are you battling the demons? Have you lost the battle? Or are they becoming a part of you? a part of your identity. So that would be quite an interesting piece looking at addiction, anxiety, mental health as well.
Wow. And are you expecting that to be what, acted out, or is it for radio? Is it for theatre?
Well, I tell you what,
What's
I could play the anxiety part pretty well, couldn't I? I'll be the lead on that. Yeah, no,
either that, you'd be
might
able
as
to
well.
give very, very good direction, because if you've
Oh, thank
experienced
you.
it firsthand,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
then in a position to be able to say, no, not like this, like this.
Yeah, yeah, not like that. Cry and then bring your pajamas away and be bossy. No, yes, I don't know. I mean, I'm still in the writing stages of it, but it's something I have lived with for the majority of my life, and it's only now that I'm got these structures in place, and I'm really proud of
Yes.
myself, and I want people to see through the creative therapeutic therapy of writing how other people can relate and say, I don't have to suffer like this. But there's a
Mm,
part of, but I'm, I'm not here to cure everybody. I'm just sharing what works for me. And I find creative journalism so therapeutic for, um, sometimes I feel like how much time of my youth, because I'm not even 30, how much time have I spent feeling this way when I could have been
mm,
partying or enjoying the better years of my life?
hmm well, I think taking a wise decision to focus on life and what matters is probably a little wiser
Yeah.
than partying and what have you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I
Not that
mean,
there's
it's
anything,
no,
not that
but
there's
people
anything
can
wrong
all
with partying if it's done in moderation and what have
exactly. But people can use this time to reflect a little bit, and that's I'm also moderate how long I'm reflecting on these things. I
you.
don't want to become melancholy that I wasted, for want of a better word, with these problems and let them consume me. I don't want to do that. Hey, if I become unwell, I want the last couple of days
Hmm.
to Rebecca actually told her story and helped people.
Yes. Yes.
Mm. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for taking the time, Rebecca. Thank you very much for having a conversation with us. And I'm sure that our listeners have found this to be of extremely useful. Well, they've found it to be extremely useful, and hopefully the advice and guidance that you have given from your own personal experience is obviously of some value to our listeners. I know that it's of some value to me, so I'm grateful to you in that regard as well.
Mhm.
That
Thanks very much for having me.
Pleasure. So hopefully we'll be able to have you back perhaps one time in the studio itself as well once all of this is over.
Yes, I look forward to it. And that's a thing I do as well, is I use constructive language and positive language as well, so that I will, I think it's going to happen. I think I will be in that studio.
Excellent. Well, once again, thank you very much. And that is all I'm afraid we have time for, dear listeners, on this occasion. Until next time, it is over and out from me. I've been the commercial barrister Tahir Ashraf, and you are listening to Revive FM 94.0, London's newest community radio station. As ever, make sure that you do follow the government guidance, which you can find on the .gov.uk websites. Over and out.